Hello, one and all. This is Irene O'Garden here on the Glad to Be Human show. I am glad to be human. I hope you are too. I have a tremendous honor to share this beautiful guest with you, Dar WIlliams. Before we get into all of the wonderful aspects of this woman, I'm going to start with our little theme song, as I like to do. Just take a deep breath and let it go. Ah, I can always use that. Dar WIlliams, a joy, an honor. I like to say that you've sold millions of records and won thousands of hearts. That would be thousands and thousands of hearts. Let me tell our audience a little bit about you. Last year was Dar's silver anniversary of recording. 26 years of sustained creativity, 9 albums, a new one on the way, which we will be talking about. Early on, she had a career-making appearance at the Newport Folk Festival, and she went on then to tour Europe with Joan Baez, collaborating with scores of other great musicians through these years. She basically has gone from the coffee house to the world stage without losing her beautiful intimacy, her wry sense of humor, and her passionate social commitment. Many of us love Dar for her wonderful butterscotchy voice, her exquisite lyrics, and her terrific guitar work. But did you know she's also written children's books? And she wrote a green blog for Huffington Post. And not only that, she's taught university classes and songwriting retreats, which you can get in on. We'll talk about that too. And she's also written just a terrific book that I can't wait to talk with you about. But I guess when we get there, I'll show you the cover. But it is a really wonderful book. Dar, I love the diversity of all you've written, and I feel that through it all, there threads this yearning, which I recognize it as the urge to connect. And I'm wondering if you just came in with that, or was it encouraged growing up, or tell me about that.
You know, I think maybe it was encouraged growing up because my parents had 2 things. They were not sentimental, nor are they. You know, they were not very huggy or anything like that. And it's very practical and, like you buy fabrics that you can wash in a washing machine kind of family, but it kind of translates into how we sort of interacted. And, but at the same time, my parents were really committed to, sort of my favorite part of my parents, the parts that I saw the most were when my mom was making bread to sell for the fundraiser at Community Day for all of her candidates that she was supporting, and supporting the first Jewish candidate in Chappaqua, New York, which things have changed, but so the first some of these first new folks coming in, and so they're really into connecting, but they're not very sentimental. So I think that it's sort of like if you have love and you have affection and real connection, it's something that's an outcome as opposed to something that you kind of preloaded with a lot of hugging and kissing and touching. So it's like you make your bread, you get the candidates done, and and suddenly the things are happening in town that make it exciting, and you suddenly realize how much you love your life and how much you love your town or your neighbors. So things sort of the unsentimental approach, but to real connection has probably always been like modeled for me. And that's probably what was behind writing a book about where I saw communities not being very touchy huggy, but being very, sort of committed to small things that one thing led to another. And then suddenly everyone loved to live in Beacon, which is where you are.
Well, actually, I'm in Garrison. But
you're in Garrison. I forgot.
I keep about the book. Let us show people what this book is. And I always get a little. Here it is. What I Found in 1,000 Towns. A traveling musician's guide to rebuilding America's communities. And what I found fascinating, I thought, hey, I'm going to pick up Dar's book. I'm going to hear about going to these towns and hanging out in the coffee houses and the sort of little social things. But it is a wonderful book about how to make community or how communities function well. I have a quote here from the New York Times Book Review. What I found in 1,000 Towns reads as if Pete Seeger and Jane Jacobs teamed up. It's more a report from the Green Party than the Green Room. But what is great about it, that sounds a little dry, actually, and it's completely entertaining. And I have to say, watching our president-elect and our vice president-elect give their speeches from Wilmington, I was so enriched by what you had written about Wilmington, because I really appreciated it. To kind of give our listeners an idea of what your premise is with this book, I'm going to introduce the term positive proximity, which I just love. But you do it as a poet does it. You introduce the idea with an image, the image of the hill. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's funny. Somebody said, "Where's that hill? What is that based on?" And I was like, but because in my mind, so the premise is, the very first line. You know how this might be. Maybe you know this, but sometimes when you know what the first line of your book is going to be, then you can finish it. And sometimes you have to start at the end. But I knew that the first line was going to be kind of what I said, which is it doesn't start with love. And I thought, so what does it start with? It starts with a hill, and a person sees a hill and says, that hill would be a great hill for sledding, and it's right off to the side of the school and nobody's noticing, and it's sort of do it first, apologize later, or whatever that expression is. So you say, okay, we can do this if we just mow it down, like mow down the grass. And so you get a person, a person, and the person has a ride-on mower, and they come and they mow it down, and they say, oh, you should get somebody to make some tracks when the snow comes. So you get that person, and then you get some neighbors to try it once it happens, and suddenly they are sledding down it, and they think it's awesome, and their friends think it's awesome, and suddenly all the kids are there, and the parents are just standing there at the bottom talking to each other, because it's inevitable. I lived across the street from Tots Park here in Cold Spring, and you're just standing there next to an adult. You can be silent, but so in my mind, and in my mind, it was sort of, this is a town where you think our town hasn't happened yet. Like, we're not a cool town. We're just one of those, we're just a town. Mm-hmm. So the kids are all sledding and the parents are all talking. The PTA woman comes up and she, somebody says, can we do a PTA, donation thing for hot cocoa? I'll have a thermos. And she does her thing. And then the next year, somebody brings baked goods to it, and everybody's coming and they're talking to each other. And the library person comes and says, what can the library do with the PTA? And the tutors come and say, what can we do to help tutor? And suddenly everyone's talking, and the the PTA woman's going out with the mower guy, and because that starts to happen too. And then suddenly you're standing at the bottom of the hill, and another parent turns to you, and his kid is sledding down, and he says, this is a great town. I wish I lived here. So that's kind of what it starts with. It starts with that idea, and then the conversations and the things start to happen. Your schools are improving, and your library is going digital, and finding services for people who are feeling left behind in the digital divide. Suddenly that's happening, and I think the most important outcome is that you become this person with a sense of positive proximity, that walking out your door in the morning and feeling connected, for better, for worse, to your neighbors, like knowing that you're going to have people that you like and don't like, and this person talks too much, and this person's weird, but that generally, but this person knows how to make a poster, and this person knows how to do a sound, run a sound system. That you're going to walk outside and have all these feelings, but that it's a choice, and it's a beneficial, good choice to be in proximity with other people. When you have that, you then suddenly, and you have a critical mass of that in a town, you feel it. And that's, what I felt when I would travel around from town to town is that either they had it, or it was neutral, or they were all like, get in your car, lock the doors, turn on the music, and negative proximity.
Positive proximity. I just love it. That's like a very pure, glad to be human thing, being around other human beings. Although a little different right now. A little different. Are you, I know you have been live streaming. What has this period, what are some of the fruits of this this bardo. Laurie Anderson talks about this as the bardo, which I think is a great image, that it's not purgatory where we grew up, but it's that place in between where nothing's quite clear yet. How has that affected you? And I love that you talk about your muse.
Yeah.
And
We
you
need them.
don't have to ask your muse to appear or do anything, but has your muse been particularly active at this time, or
Uh,
what's going on for you now?
You know what? I feel like I'm having like the muse is kind of like my office mate. And so
Mhm.
there have been times when I sit down, and I love what Elizabeth Gilbert says, that you talk to the daemon and you say, I'm here, please show up. Like, I can't do this. I'm
Yeah.
lonely alone. I feel so, I don't know what's going to happen, but, I feel like a hack, but if you show up, like
Yeah.
we can,
Yeah.
so the muse it has been there, and I've shown up from time
Mhm.
to time, of course. I show up, and I've written some. I'm stuck on one song right now, so I'm in that hack feeling phase. But what happened was I have a lot of hippie friends, and they sort of saw this moment as kind of a breakdown in consumerism and materialism, and sort of just, and I looked around my tiny property and thought about, Laura Ingalls Wilder and
Mhm.
homesteading and what we fix and what we, sure enough, the first thing I did, I went up to my room and I thought I needed sweaters or the dresses for the summer. And what if I just cut off the sleeves of the dresses that I don't like from the winter? So it's like I just pared down, and I really
Mhm.
looked at all my stuff, and I looked at the way I live my life, and I slowed it way down.
Mhm.
And I suddenly realized that I could come up with some simple, like I could live more simply and have a little more time and a little bit more brain space and a little bit more everything. And the muse
Mhm.
is like, when the time comes, that's going to be some nice real estate for me. So it
Oh
was more
yeah.
about sort of
Oh yeah.
making the getting my space clear. And I've talked to other musicians who say, they're like, yeah, I'm not really writing a lot of songs, but I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know, I get it. I'm sort of understanding. This is the first time some of us have been home for more than a month at a stretch
Yeah.
for the last 30 years.
Mhm.
So it's like I got down into the soil a little bit,
Mm.
here and out there.
Ooh, ooh, juicy, juicy. I love
Yeah.
that. Well, we're gonna we're gonna hear about a little bit more about what your is this part of your new album? Oh, tell us a little bit about that, and then maybe we can talk a
That
little bit
that
more about
album
that.
was in the can, as we say,
Oh wow!
as of February, I think. Um, so that was, there's an echo, Irene. Do you hear a little echo, or is that just me?
Gosh, I'm not hearing
Oh,
it, but
good. Okay. Well, I'm sure nobody else does either. I finished it in February, and then there were a few touches to do, and then suddenly we were in lockdown. So then I went back, and we were going to release it in the fall, and I have a
Mhm,
great manager, and she just said, "We're
mhm.
going to release it in the fall of 2021." I was like, "Oh, we're going to be so fine by then." She's like, "I don't know, but we're definitely." I said, "We'll be fine by 2020," but she insisted. So now in the fall of 2020, I've just gone in and finished the last touches. I go into with a mask, and they put me in a special room, and they close the door, and I take off my mask. And so, so no, it was not influenced by the pandemic, nor is the stuff that I'm writing now. I've started writing about 7 songs, and none of them are influenced. It takes about 10 years for me to write about stuff to get to the topic of the topical song. But I look, I have a little music room now, and I look out over my neighbor's yard, and they're great gardeners. So there's just always some sort of color of a bush, or a this, or their pride flag, or their lighting, or something that catches my eye. And then I see, Target Hill and Storm King Mountain,
Uh,
and there's birds coming. So it's more like that's coming across my mindscape.
wow.
So I'm sure
Now,
you have
people are
something
saying
similar.
they do hear an echo.
Yeah.
But I don't. So I wonder if that's a little bit of your
My
beautiful
setup.
equipment that you brought along to possibly share with us.
Okay, so we can, oh, let's see. I can, well, I'll get off and we'll try this. Um,
Okay.
let's try, um, a non. All right. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. It's a little more subdued.
Right. Here, let me come a little closer.
It says there's no echo coming from me, so it's probably but it says much better now.
All right. All right. So I'll just put this stuff aside. And oh shoot, I was using this my headphones like a headband. So I'll just put that.
Now I'm really hardly hearing you, but is everybody else okay?
Okay, I'm gonna get close. Can you hear me now?
I can, but it's not the world's best.
All right, hold on for a sec. Hello. All right. Unfortunately.
Well, everybody says it's much better now, so let's have it.
All right, I'm just gonna get closer to you.
Oh,
right up on my thing.
People are saying they're hardly hearing. Okay. Technology, we love you. But
I'm gonna see if we come back and if it improves, because sometimes it just goes away on its own.
Too soft.
All right.
Ooh,
is that better?
That's better for me. How is it, audience?
Okay, you know what? I think if I unplug
loud
this,
and clear. Loud and clear. People are saying loud and clear.
Thanks, everyone.
Well, fabulous. Well, we love those little things that come in and keep us spontaneous. We were talking about pandemic, but what was interesting is you were saying that you don't have, you're not writing pandemic songs, and yet, as I was bathing myself once again in your beautiful work, I thought, oh my gosh, you have you could do a Dar WIlliams pandemic playlist. I thought you could put on it, you could put The Weight of the World, which we all feel we're carrying right now. You could put, what's the other one I had? The World's Not Falling Apart Because of Me. Just something to get through. There are just, so if you guys don't know these songs, please acquaint yourself. Please go to Dar's website, look them up, buy them individually. Remember that artists really need income right now. We all do, all of us as creators. So rather than just going, oh, let me go press a button somewhere, support this wonderful woman. And I understand that you actually did bring a song in your pocket for us today.
Sure. I was thinking, well, the thing is, I was reading Glad to Be Human.
Oh,
and I saw the song, and I saw the beautiful passage about visiting the Statue of Liberty, Lady Liberty, Lady L, as you said. And it was just brilliant. And it captured so much that happened to me. I didn't climb up. It was already too late in world history for me to do that. So it's all right. Excuse me. So I had to, I'm going to lift this up so we have this on the thing too. It's just kind of soft. Okay, so can you hear this, Irene?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you're just getting like a lot of my head in this shot.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to switch you to solo view here. There you go.
Oh, hello. Okay, so this is so anyway, this is a song I wrote after going to the Statue of Liberty and also going to the Tenement Museum in New York, which is the. And then I had to kind of fit all of New York into one song. I thought, will not happen. But I wrote this with Bryn Roberts, who's a jazz dude, and he really helped to kind of keep the mood of it. So here we go. They'll say they came to find this. They'll tell their children of the day. As they walked, they
tailor's chalk traced the air. There were peeling walls and darkened halls, hot and smoky nights, and yes, they strived. But when their boat arrived, a statue raised her light. New York is a harbor. The dreamers work with callous tales, for who you are will survive you. The pattern fades, the city stales. It's New York, it's New York, it's New York. Today you felt the sorrow. You thought today you'd pack it in. And overhead, the billboard said, we told you so. The poor were gonna jail to dawn. The rubber barons free. They stole the art. Yeah, they broke your heart. So much for that liberty. But New York, well, it's a harbor. They're working hard on West 74th to find some bed, a free lawyer. The midnight oil burns like a torch. It's New York, it's New York, it's New York. And we cheer for the Harlock Joe on payday. Dancing girl when she gets to Broadway. Workers' lunch on a crossbeam in the sky. So don't you let yourself forget. The spirit lives on the island. She's floating past the Rawlings Bridge. And in the dark, the homesteads park to Harlem's gate, where souls were born on golden horns. She can hear them still, and some last call she's been at Stonewall Inn to beat the morning's chill. And New York was a harbor, was so there in the war. It holds the dream, it tells the story. A distant boat, a golden door. It's New York, it's New York.
Oh, thank you. I had to go get a Kleenex. Oh, it's so wonderful to be back in touch with that New York and for us all to remember.
Yeah, and my dad, somebody I was speaking to, she was being really supportive of me, and she was saying, you got to understand that even if you're not sitting down in a chair, at your writing desk doing this, you're picking up all these frequencies, and one of those frequencies, and you pick up these memories from all these different parts of your life. And for me, I was asked to do a version of What Child Is This for a fundraising album for something called Horizon House, which is on West 74th, I think, in New York City, which is where they're always trying, right in the middle of Manhattan, they're always trying to find a free bed, a free lawyer, a place to go, place for people to do, to go to rehab or find a job or something, to plug yourself back in. And in the back of it, it says something like, come to Horizon House, you're always welcome home, or something. And I thought, it was after I recorded the song, and I thought, oh, thank God I wrote, a worthy group. And I talked to one of the guys who ran, and he said, "Oh, I know your dad." And my dad had done work with them. And I thought, oh, I think
Wow.
that my parents were involved with that New York. You know, they
Oh,
were always committed. They lived there for a while, and they were always committed to that New York.
mm,
And because that's the great story, is that you actually, people look out for each other. And even after 9/11, that was really clear.
mhm,
You know,
mhm.
everybody
The
lining up
harbor,
for
the
Afghanistan.
harbor embrace.
Yeah.
Yes, the harbor. But I mean, just the images, the lunch on the crossbeam. It's like,
Do you know that picture? Do you
oh,
know
of
that?
course, of course. You just make things spring alive with your choice of images and with your beautiful voice. So thank
Well,
you.
same to
Thank
you,
you.
Irene.
It's
So
a great gift. Um, gosh. Uh, I'm just going to ask. I know we don't have too much time, but are you doing any remote things? Are you remote teaching? Are you a remote mom? Are you what are, this sense of community? And I feel it right here. So I feel like really you and I are like standing next to each other. But it is a funny thing to do it through this. And are you being called to do that right now?
I do concerts online, and
Mhm.
I did a couple where it was just me, um,
Mhm.
and then I did a couple where I was split screen, and
Yeah,
split
I
screener a
heard a
lot
great
more
one
fun.
recently.
I
Mhm.
thought it'd be fun, you know. I'm like, I'm an abstract thinker. I can do a song and then be done, and then just sing another song, and I don't need all that attention. But
Mhm.
it had a different flow, and that's a learning curve. But um,
Mhm.
I have a concert that I'm doing on December 10th with
Mhm.
some of my old friends from Boston. So it's Melissa Farrick and Jonathan Brooke and Jim Infantino. So we're gonna
Right.
swap stories. We're gonna sing songs. So we do these concerts every
Mhm.
month and a half or so.
Great.
And then we did something that I bet you would have seen what, you would have picked up what was going on. We do these songwriting retreats at the Garrison Institute.
Yeah, yeah.
Raquel Vidal and Michelle and Rick Gedney and I, and KJ Dennert down from Peekskill. So we all, you know, feel like that space, the Garrison Institute, which you probably know, some people here
Oh,
know.
yes,
It's
yes.
such a, it is a big part. Like you have to, it's not about me. It's mostly about the Garrison Institute. That's what I thought. But actually, it's mostly about people writing and holding that space to write. And
And what's the title of the retreat? I just love this.
it's called Writing a Song That Matters.
Yeah,
If it was called How to Make a Press Back and Get a Record Contract, I'd have to send you somewhere else. I used to know, like I knew how to do that, but it's different. So we do this, and then we so people seem to want to do it remotely. Like if we could figure it
yeah.
out. And
Mhm.
early on, my manager said, "Look, it's just not gonna. You should start to think this through, how this could happen."
Mhm.
And we found this fabulous tech whiz, and we created some things that we hadn't done before in the space for songwriting. Like we created what we called the SoFab collab, which was which was we would match you up randomly with somebody, and you would go off and work together in your Zoom space, and the four of us became a pod, and went up to Toby Shimon's house, the great
Yes, yes.
editor, where she had a fire pit, and we would sit and sort of sit somewhat distanced from each other, but watching people play their songs by our own fire side. And then we would rehearse a song and play it, in four parts to kind of create the sing-along feel that we have for things. And we just did everything we could to say we were still here. The
Mhm.
most important part of witnessing each other's songwriting and witnessing the importance of songwriting
Mhm.
still there. And it worked. And it was very emotional. It was emotional for all of us.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of people said they had really not written anything. We were 4 months in,
Mhm.
and they hadn't really written any songs. And we're like, oh, so all those people on Facebook saying that they've written 16 songs and 16 symphonies, like, okay,
King Lear, yeah.
like weeding your garden too? Okay, yeah, I thought so. But it was great because we all left with a stronger sense of making a little extra space in the corners to write songs because it just felt so good. So we did that too. We were going to do a little one in December, just after Christmas.
Fantastic. And I can't believe our half hour has gone.
Oh.
But no, what I was going to say is I highly encourage all of our viewers to go to your website, Dar WIlliams. I mean, you should be giving me information, not I, of where people might be able to sign up for that retreat, where they can get that link to watch your live stream and give you money.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I just want to say, can I say a couple of things before?
Sure.
So this is the hangover. Sorry. Two things. One is your I pledge allegiance to the flow. I wrote that in the front of my date book, and I find your pledge allegiance is so inspiring, and it's sort of a daily. It's something that you can think daily. And the other thing I just want to say to this audience is that Irene does this wonderful thing where she writes poetry with kids in the schools, and that's something she did with my son's class, and one of my son's poems was selected and put on a piece of fabric and hung site-specifically down at Constitution March or the Audubon Marsh. And we went and we walked, and my son got to see not only his poem, but his poem contextualized in the community, in this beautiful space. And it meant the world to him. And the way that you were with these kids, so witnessing, you could be a very aloof poet, considering your stature and your standing in this community. But actually I saw you that day as this like bright mirror, and these kids were just sort of in the golden Irene garden light, and it meant so much to my son, who's not here, so he doesn't have to hear me say that. But I think it was a turning point for him. I just can't thank you enough for being the person who shares the muse.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tara. I'm very grateful. Thank you. It was a treat, and his poem was really good too. That apple did not fall far from this tree.
Well, you brought something out of him. So thank you very much. It's great to see you. We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yes, I'd be delighted. People, go to Dar's website, sign up for her retreat, listen to her music. It's so nourishing for us all right now. And take care of yourselves and take a little deep breath. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Good night. Goodbye.
Bye. So cute. My mouse is misbehaving. Well, a few extra moments. Wow.